Okay, in this section, we are going to add and subtract fractions with uncommon denominators. So in the first part, we did look at fractions with different denominators and try to find a common denominator. Though that was a simple way of doing it. This one's a little bit trickier, or not trickier, but it's more difficult to get there. Don't need to go over that. There's a couple of methods that I'm going to show you in finding a common denominator for two fractions. And we're not going to look at method 1. We're going to look at method 2, actually, because I like this one better. Okay, and it is finding the smallest common denominator. Now, in chapter 6, we were reducing fractions, and in order to reduce a fraction, you have to find the largest common denominator, and that's what you'll divide by. This is a little bit different. We're going to find the smallest common denominator. So when you consider a fraction like 1/3 and 1/6, well, this one's an easy one. You're probably looking at that and going, I already know the common denominator is going to be 6, right? This is an easy one. But when we have two fractions like that, what we want to find is the smallest number that both denominators will go into, right? And like I said, this one's easy because 3 already goes into 6, and so that's easy to find. But this is how you do it. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how to do this. So in this case, how we do that is we list the multiples of each of the denominators. And I know you love skip counting. You love finding multiples. And if you don't, you gotta learn to. Anyways, so this is how you would do it. If you couldn't find that common denominator, this is how you could do it. You take that 3 and you'd start skip counting and list them. So you're going to have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, etc. Depends on the numbers as to how far you need to go, right? Okay, your multiples of 6, you're going to go 6, 12, 18, 24, etc. Okay, now what you're looking for here is not the largest common multiple, or which will be your denominator, but the smallest one. And in this case, it is 6. Okay, so then you can take your, here's the actual math part. So you're going to take it and you're going to turn this 1/3, or sorry, the 3 into a 6. You do that by multiplying by 2. So you multiply the top and the bottom by 2 and you get a fraction of 2/6. 1/6 is already out of 6, so you don't have to do anything more there, right? Okay, so that's an easy example. Let's look at this one. I'm actually going to do the first one with you. And I'm going to use this, for 2 of these, we're going to do the finding the lowest common denominator. And we'll do it this way. So we're going to list multiples. So we're going to list multiples of 3 and 4. Okay, so for 3 it is 3, 6, 9, 12. That's as far as I'm going to go. Well, I'll go on 15. Okay, for 4 it is 4, 8. Oops, what am I doing? Sorry. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. So then you look at your list and you go, what's the smallest number that 3 and 4 both have in common? Okay, I'm looking here. Oh, there it is right there. It's 12. Okay, so then you take your fractions and you change them so that they have a denominator of 12. So you take 1/3. I want it to have a denominator of 12. So what do I have to multiply it by? 4. Okay, 1 times 4 is 4. Oh, darn it. 1 times 4 is 4. Oh, that's ugly. Man, I'm making all sorts of mistakes here, hey? 1 times 4 is 4, and our 3 times 4 is 12. So there's our new fraction. For 3/4, I'm running out of room here. So 3/4, we have to multiply, we want to have the denominator of 12, so we have to multiply by 3. So 3 times 4 is 12, 3 times 3 is 9. Now we have this 9/12 and 4/12, and we can do whatever we're doing with it. We can add, we can subtract, we can do what we need to, because now they have a common denominator. Okay, now I want you to stop the video, And I want you to do the same thing with, let's see, let's go with this one right here. I want you to do this one. 1/2 and 3/5. Okay, so stop the video and do that one. Okay, so when you look at 1/2 and 3/5, you can't make that 2 into a 5. So now we have to find a common denominator. So we list the multiples. So of 2 and 5. So 2 goes 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I don't know how far I need to go. For 5s, it is 5, 10, 15, 20. We'll just see how we go now. So then I look at my list and I go, what is my smallest number that both 2 and 5 have in common? And it is 10. Okay, 10 right there. So now I can change my fraction so that they have a denominator of 10. So for 1/2, what do I have to multiply that by? 5. That's right. So 2 times 5 is 10. 1 times 5 is 5. Okay. The other one, 3/5. Again, I want a denominator of 10 because that's what we've established. So how do you make 5 into 10? You multiply it by 2. Okay, 5 times 2 is 10. 3 times 2 is 6. So now you have 6/10 and 5/10, and you can compare those. You can add them, you can subtract them, you can do whatever you need to do with them. Okay. Now, that's method 2. I'm going to go back to method 1. Method 1 is very, very quick, and some of you may really like it because it is quick. There are some negatives to it, however. So method 1 is to find that common denominator. All you do is you multiply the two denominators together. So 3 and 6, we're going to multiply those. 3 times 6 is 18. So that's our denominator that we're going to use. Okay? And then you change your fractions. So if we want 1/3, right, we want it to have a denominator of 18. So we have to multiply by 6. 3 times 6 is 18. 1 times 6 is 6. So there's your new fraction. And remember, this is equivalent, right? Because we've changed both the numerator and the denominator. Okay, over here, denominator of 18. Again, 1/6, we're multiplying by 3. 6 times 3 is 18. 1 times 3 is 3. There's our new fraction. They have the same denominator, so we can compare them. We can do whatever the heck we want with them. Okay. Now, the only problem with this method is that sometimes the fractions get really, really big, and you have to reduce them. So I want you to look here. I want you to look here at these fractions. So let's use this method. So to find a common denominator, let's look at 1/2 and 4/8. So we're gonna look at that one. And what color should I use? I'll use this darker green. So we're just gonna multiply our denominators, right? So 2 times 8 gives us 16. So now our new fraction, denominator is gonna be 16. So we take our 1/2. We take our 1/2 and we want to change it so our denominator is a 16. What do you do to 2 to make it into 16? You multiply by 8. So 2 times 8 is 16. 1 times 8 is 8. Well, what happened there? My board is possessed sometimes. Okay. 8. Okay. So our other fraction, 4/8. 4/8. We want it to have a denominator of 16. So what do you do to 8 to make it into 16? You multiply by 2. 8 times 2 is 16. 4 times 2 is 8. So now you have your two new fractions, 8/16 and, oh, they're the same, and 8/16. That's just a coincidence. Okay, I'm going to do one more example with you. And this one's a biggie. So if we go, change my color. So again, we're just multiplying denominators. So if you go 8 times 6, 8 times 6, what's 8 times 6? 48. So that's your common denominator. See, this is the problem with this strategy is the denominator ends up being really large. But we're going to do that anyways. Okay, so 5/8. And we want a denominator of 48. So what did we have to multiply it by? 6. That's right. So 8 times 6 is 48. 5 times 6 is 30. Okay, the other fraction, 1/6. And we want to have a denominator of 48. So what do you have to multiply that by? Multiplying by 8. 6 times 8 is 48. 1 times 8 is 8. Okay, so now our new fractions are 30/48 and 8/48. Okay, now if we use the other method, our denominator that we're going to be dealing with is going to be much smaller. Okay, and so it's just harder to get your fraction into lowest terms when you're using this method because the numbers are so much bigger. But both methods will work just fine. So you got to figure out what works for you.